Welcome back to the channel. Hope you've all had a good week. Now I'm going to start off this week with some of the highlights of what Gerard Huckleberry showed us in this week's Inside Star Citizen, and then we'll talk about the roadmap and some of the changes. So we got another look at the Aegis Nautilus, the new concept ship, which is of course a mine layer. Now we didn't really get too much new information here, basically just iterating its defensive capabilities, being a mine layer, and obviously with that large S7 gun on the front. Now we did learn that you will be able to actually temporarily disable mines via weapons like EMP Pulse, and of course the Nautilus can actually sweep mines itself. But I'm actually wondering whether in the future we will actually see a smaller dedicated mine sweeping ship. We'll have to wait and see, because we don't know how this mechanic's going to work out. That's something to wait for in the future. We had a quick look at the upcoming Vanguard variants, the Sentinel and Harbinger. They're actually exploring different colours for the skins on these ships. Actual proper colours, final colours to be decided. Now they also had a look at different chat option colours for the UI for the Mobiglass. Basically you can assign different colours for different chats you're having with various people. And we had a look at some ongoing work on weapon attachments, and in particular they're working on a silencer, and we saw here how the silencer works. Obviously it works quietly, so get ready for some stealth-like assassination gameplay. They've also been working on some different sound effects for the player. Obviously when you're exerting yourself, and perhaps when you're suffocating yourself as well. And we also heard a bone crunching sound effect for when you actually crash down onto a hard surface. We saw some work being done on actually updating the UI for the game, and in particular the tools they're using. They're actually got a dedicated tool which can be used by everyone quite easily. Now this is to get away from the current system, which is a bit antiquated for the game, which is based on Scaleform and Flash. So the sooner they can get actually this implemented into the game, the better your UI will look. So that's good to see, and look out for this in hopefully the not too distant future. There was a special pillar talk this week, and usually it's quite interesting listening to Aaron Roberts talk, and even Eric Kieran Davis and John Crew. But this one was basically all about their new system of staggered development. Obviously we've seen problems with the roadmap recently, and they're actually going to this new system of staggered development. So wasn't that interesting really to listen to this, and in fact you're probably better off reading the post by Xylo on the RSI Spectrum forum, which explains what staggered development is. Hopefully it will be a little bit more focused development with smaller teams, probably not quite as much in the patches, but hopefully what they're putting will actually get in. So let's see how this system works. So that's what Pillar Talk was all about. Well, not totally surprising, there has been changes to the Star Citizen roadmap this week, as well as the Squadron 42 beta being pushed back by 3 months. Now that's not a surprise, as I don't expect to see Squadron 42 before 2021 at the earliest anyway. So the big news this week was the roadmap. Well, the change in the roadmap, but that's been on the cards for a while now, because we've seen tasks stalling, not really making much progress. So basically a lot of things have been shifted out of the next patch 3.7, but some things have made it in, including caves, and obviously that's going to be quite a interesting thing to explore. Some new gameplay hopefully in caves. So obviously it can be a little bit depressing if you start reading the Star Citizen subreddit when these delays happen to the roadmap, because you start to think it's actually the end of the world as we know it. But I've been doing these videos long enough to know that changes to the roadmap aren't unusual, and that's why I don't tend to cover them too much. So these are some of the things which should be in 3.7. Keep your fingers crossed. So we've got improvements to the human AI combat. Obviously that's going to be welcome to see how much they can improve it over the current combat model, which isn't that great. And obviously AI dogfight combat version 2. I'm pretty hopeless, so let's hope they don't make them too difficult for me to fight against. Only kidding, they need to be improved. So what else have we got? We've got FPS mining. Now this is an interesting one, because it does open up the possibility of mining for all players. You won't have to own a Miss Prospector for mining. So you can actually use a handheld device to extract your minerals and precious metals maybe. So that's pretty interesting, coming in 3.7. Mission sharing as well, that's a much requested feature from the community. So I'm going to have to find myself some friends to actually share a mission with though. So that's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Obviously depends what type of missions they are. And we've also got personal commodity inventory. Now this goes hand in hand with the new harvestable entity systems, which is coming online as well in this patch, hopefully. So you'll be able to have your inventories full of things you pick up. Could be fruits or other items found in the environment. So that will be interesting to see. So when you do look at 3.7, there is still a fair amount of gameplay and new systems coming in, and this is really the most important one, I think, ship rentals, as it enables people to work towards actually renting a ship with the credits they earn in game, and that's something which will obviously make it worthwhile for people playing. Obviously the progress will be wiped in the next patch, so get your credits while you can. And this one is actually quite an interesting one. I've not seen this one, but this looks like it's going to try and help you when you get close to obstacles, maybe when you land, slow the ship's acceleration down and allow for softer, more fine control. So evidently you can toggle it on and off as well. So that's just some of the features coming in 3.7. As I said earlier, again, don't be surprised if some of these features don't make it, but as they've pruned 3.7 down, I'm sure that they're pretty pretty sure that they can actually hit these targets. Well, that's it for Star Citizen News this week. Now, I'm going to leave you with something which really excited me, and obviously if I had more time I'd probably actually show a bit more of this type of real life spaceship development, because down in Boca Chica in Texas, Elon Musk successfully launched his Starship prototype, aka Starhopper, a water tank which can fly to a height of 150 metres and manoeuvred across to land on an adjacent landing pad. Now, this used one of the new Raptor engines, and this is a methane based engine, and this will take us to the moon and beyond.